Good morning. I know we're finished celebrating St. Anselm's memorial. That was Tuesday. But something in one of the prayers today brought Anselm to my mind again. I'd like to continue talking about him for a minute. I know we talked about fides quaerens intellectum, faith seeking understanding. But listen to the prayer, the collect this morning. O God, who for the salvation of the world brought about the paschal sacrifice, be favorable to the supplications of your people. Here's the part. So that Christ our high priest, interceding on our behalf, may by his likeness to ourselves bring us reconciliation, and by his equality with you free us from our sins. One of the books that Anselm wrote is entitled Cur Deus Homo. It can be translated Why God Became Man, or Why the God-Man. Cur means why, Deus is God, and Homo means man. And he had a few things in that book. I'm not going to give you a full exposition of his treatise. But one of his ideas came up with what is called the satisfaction theory or atonement, that an offense is, the greatness of an offense is calculated not by the offender, but by the offendee. And so he's writing, of course, in the Middle Ages. And so to use that milieu, an offense against the king would be a more serious offense than offense against a serf. Even if the action was the same, if you slapped the king, that would be a worse offense than slapping a slave or a serf, because the king was higher in dignity. Now, this is in medieval thought, right? We wouldn't say that now, but. And so the offense of Adam and Eve, of humanity against God, is an infinite offense because God is of infinite dignity. And so only God can atone for that offense, because only God is infinite in dignity. But man owed the debt because it was man's offense. So man owned the debt, but only God could pay it because the debt was infinite, and so needed a God-man. And so Jesus' divine dignity, of course, is inherent in him. And so that's why he took on human nature, becoming like us in all things but sin. Even if you think of his baptism in the Jordan, taking on not just our physical human nature, but also taking on our need for redemption, So he shows that solidarity by entering into the Jordan to be baptized by John, a baptism for the forgiveness of sins. By his stripes we were healed. So he took on our everything when it came to human nature, right? And so one of the reasons I bring it up is just because to show that the prayers occasionally, most people seem to like it when I talk about the prayers, but occasionally people think I should only talk about the readings. And I try to pay attention so I don't talk about them too much, say. But these prayers come from somewhere, and they express our theology. Somebody isn't just making up some prayer, This expresses what we believe, which is why we have the maxim in theology, lex orandi, lex credendi, the law of praying is the law of believing. Most of the time we say that to mean that what people pray all the time, they'll start believing, right? But it also means this other kind of a little bit different aspect, that our prayers express not just what we want people to believe, but express what the church professes to believe. Yeah. Now, theologians have made progress on this idea of why did God take on a human nature, and even Anselm himself hints that there would be other reasons, like that Jesus would have done this, or God would have done this even without the satisfaction theory or whatever. But this prayer expresses, right, his likeness to ourselves, brings us reconciliation, because we're saying to the Father through Jesus, we have sinned and want to come back. But by his equality with God, he frees us from our sins. So his divinity takes away our sins. So both of those are absolutely necessary for many reasons. But this just shows one reason, that it was not accident or whim that Jesus took on a human nature, but that in Jesus we have someone fully divine and fully human. And that's important and even vital to our salvation. And so we revere Christ's humanity. We might sometimes I've heard this phrase, his sacred humanity. And so it leads to a lot of things. Devotion to the wounds of Christ, devotion to the Sacred Heart of Christ, devotion, things like that. Devotion to the Eucharist, his body and blood. These are real things that are important in our devotions. And so we revere Christ not only for his divinity, but we revere his humanity as well. God bless you.